Just a quick reminder, we're going to be off the air all of next week so that I can take some time to heal up from a lingering climbing injury. We'll be back with the daily on Monday, March 19th. In the meantime, you can and should subscribe to the MJ Today Media Newsfeed email newsletter, which we will continue all of next week. The newsfeed goes out first thing every Monday through Saturday morning with all of the day's relevant industry headlines, all organized by location. You can subscribe to the newsfeed over at mjtodaymedia.com/newsfeed. That's mjtodaymedia.com/newsfeed. This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at Ease, California's top one-stop website for legal marijuana delivery. Ease makes it easy to stay on the right side of California cannabis law by making sure that their system knows which parts of the state allow for marijuana delivery, and by being sticklers about all of their partner dispensaries being fully in compliance with all applicable rules and regulations. There's a lot of less than compliant shops and delivery services out there, so don't trust your cannabis business dollars with anyone but the best, most compliant service. In California, that's Ease. Pop over to ease.com to see if your local area is allowing for marijuana delivery, and then fire up ease.com/blog to read all of the helpful bits of industry insight and analysis the Ease team has developed using their properly aggregated and anonymized sales data stream. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Friday, March 9th, 2018, and you're tuned in to episode 448 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story this fine Friday is a piece by our buddy Tom Angel over at Forbes highlighting a newly proposed piece of legislation in the U.S. Senate that would afford a measure of protection for financial institutions who do business within the legal cannabis industry. As regular listeners know, most legal cannabis businesses have a hard time getting regular business banking accounts like any other legal industry due to federal restrictions. On Wednesday, 10 U.S. senators filed a proposed bill that would bar federal officials from taking punitive actions on banks doing business with state legal cannabis entities. The bill is an amendment to a larger piece of Senate legislation and has as its main sponsors the bipartisan pair of Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon and Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. Swing over to Tom's piece on Forbes for more of the backstory on this one and for a link to the complete bill itself. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Jumping down to Florida, we have a fantastic story about a little bit of legislative justice, as state lawmakers voted yesterday to add a provision within the annual budget that withholds just under $2 million in funding for Department of Health salaries and benefits until the department gets around to implementing the medical marijuana program expansion voted in by Florida citizens in 2016. Under the provision, health department officials would see their pay and benefits drop by 7.75% until they're able to properly implement medical marijuana. We've touched on this story a number of times, with the most recent update coming as state lawmakers criticized during a committee meeting Florida's medical marijuana program director, Christian Bax, a man who, if you didn't know any better, you'd swear was put into his position by the prohibitionists at Smarter Approaches to Marijuana. Mr. Bax has done about as poor of a job as you can do in expanding medical marijuana patient access, and I'm glad to know that he should start feeling a lot of pressure within the health department to stop being terrible at what he's paid to do. We'll keep an eye on Florida as this storyline plays out. Our final top story of the day brings us out to Maryland, where yesterday that state's House of Delegates voted 121-16 in favor of a bill expanding the number of licensed medical marijuana cultivators from 15 to 20. The proposed bill would also set a limit on the number of licensed cannabis processors to 25. Maryland has come up in the headlines a lot over the last couple of years as they've struggled to roll out a medical marijuana program bogged down almost from the start by controversies surrounding the racial representation among business license owners. The new bill increasing the number of cultivation licenses now has to survive a trip through the state Senate, so I'm sure we'll be checking back in on this one with more details in the days and weeks to come. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz it in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Ease, California's top one-stop website for legal marijuana delivery. Ease is a company that you can feel good about doing business with, as not only do they go through a lot of trouble to make sure their customers are fully in compliance with all California state cannabis laws, but they also care a lot about being a good corporate citizen. That's the main reason they've set aside $1 million over the next 3 years to be given out to Bay Area organizations working to advance the cause of social justice and equality. As I mentioned earlier this week, one of those deserving organizations is the Hood Incubator, which works to increase the participation of Black and Brown communities in the burgeoning legal marijuana industry. You can learn more about the Hood Incubator over at hoodincubator.org and more about all the other cool things Ease is up to over at ease.com/blog. And of course, ease.com is where you go when you want fully state legal California marijuana delivery, with Ease spelled EAZE. All right, time for the Blitz. Israel's parliament just passed by unanimous vote a proposal to decriminalize cannabis in that nation. The bill would strip criminal penalties associated with a person's first 3 small cannabis possession offenses and will require 2 more readings and votes before the Knesset before becoming law. Ontario, Canada-based MPX Bioceutical Corporation just announced that they are acquiring a number of licensed Arizona medical marijuana companies for a total of $15 million. The deal will be done with MPX's wholly owned U.S. subsidiary CGX Life Sciences, Inc., which also operates businesses in Maryland and Massachusetts. Marijuana Business Daily picked up on comments made last week by North Carolina's top state agricultural official criticizing the Drug Enforcement Administration's stance on industrial hemp. Agricultural Commissioner Steve Troxler gave a speech at the Southern Farm Show in Raleigh last week and said that the DEA needs to get out of the way of the development of industrial hemp. North Carolina has a small agricultural hemp program under which 97 farmers grew a total of 2,000 acres last year. Dan Adams over at the Boston Globe has a good story up looking at one of the rules recently set in place by the Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission over how much energy can be used to cultivate legal cannabis. The commission has been working to draft a set of guidelines for the adult use industry set to roll out later this year, and the provision dealing with indoor cultivators currently limits the energy used per square foot of cultivation space to 36 watts, a level so low as to require expensive LED lights that some growers criticize for not having a full enough spectrum of light. Our very own Chris Crane, a host and regular on our weekly show Marijuana Today, is actually quoted in the story and nicely sums up a lot of the industry's thought on this one with, quote, "If the commission's trying to ensure that Massachusetts is known as a state with poor quality product and high prices, this is a great way to do it," unquote. Pop over to this one for the full read. Marijuana Business Daily has a wonky story up about a new effort by the National Cannabis Industry Association, or NCIA, to unite more than 150 state-level marijuana industry trade groups under an initiative it's calling the Allied Associations Program. This is one of the stories that mostly appeals to true industry nerds, so if that's you, swing on over to John Schroer's piece for the full read. As Canada works to implement nationwide adult use legalization, a member of parliament from British Columbia thinks the nation needs to give more opportunities to smaller-scale cannabis cultivators. Member of Parliament Wayne Stetsky is criticizing a new set of draft regulations carving out more space for smaller cultivators because the new rules won't go into effect until later this year, which would allow larger licensed companies to establish protected space. And finally for today, the latest numbers from the folks over at Cannabis Benchmarks showing the current spot price for wholesale cannabis reveals a decline in price that doesn't seem to be ending. As seen by Cannabis Benchmarks, the average spot price in 2017 for a pound of wholesale cannabis averaged out at $1,562, while the average price the year before was $1,789. There's another good chart showing pricing broken down by state, with every state-level index ending 2017 lower than it began. This is an industry-wide issue if there ever was one, so don't miss out on the full read. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again on Monday, March 19th with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at MJTodayDaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Ease, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the listeners' ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing on over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.